There was this one time that I was on top of a mountain and I was playing chess against Bigfoot. And I cheated, which was a bad idea because then I was on the run from Bigfoot, and I ran all the way down the mountain into the desert, got bitten by 15 rattlesnakes, and that gave me some visions in which, yeah. So I ran into some people that helped me out, and it turns out they were some badass country musicians and hip-hop MCs, and we started collaborating, and that was about 75 years ago. So we've gotten... Your name is big, but my goal is bigger. I go hard. I go
I mean, it comes together really easily, surprisingly easily for most people. But really, when our audiences come in, and it'll be bluegrass fans or hip hop fans, and they'll be coming in skeptical, and they'll think this can't possibly work. But when you really sit down and think about it, there's a couple of things that both styles of music have in common. I mean, they're both folk musics. They're both sort of from the people. There's a strong improvisational element in both styles. So like bluegrass players will sit around in a circle and they'll do a pick, which is just taking a tune and trading solos and improvising. But hip hop MCs will do the same exact thing, but they'll call it a cipher, and they'll just be standing around and trading verses and riffing off of what the other guy said. It fits together really well. They're both a lot of the lyrical content is the same. You know, a lot of bluegrass songs are telling the same stories that hip hop tracks are talking about. Tough times, people down on their luck, outlaws, heartbreak, having to kill the woman that you love and then dump her body in the river and watch her as she floats down. You know, it's all the same stuff.
The really funny part about it is when you tell somebody what it is, like, oh yeah, it's bluegrass hip hop. They, usually get a pretty funny look. But the idea is that, when you mix just the melodic nature of a lot of the bluegrass music with the hip hop, with the beats, that's the same thing that you're doing when a cat's making a hip hop track with just samples or whatever, or somebody's playing live with a band. You're mixing that melody with the beats, and when you put it together, it works much easier than people think it might. You know what I'm saying? And like you said, since a lot of the tones of the music and some of the things that are said are very similar, it works out much easier than people might imagine. And then when they hear it, they're like, oh, yeah, okay, all right, I see that now. I see trouble my days. Everybody in the back. What I'd be doing? No, not even remotely. But this has allowed me personally to do a lot of the things I thought I would be doing. But this, for me, it may not have been what I thought I'd be doing, but it's what I like doing the most. It's because it is so sort of genre bending. Yes, yeah, that's the word I'm looking for. Genre bending.
Well, you guys all know that I was planning to be on a hip-hop bluegrass band.
Yeah. That's actually on a resume.
Yeah, so check that off. But, I found the dobro, and there was always like 9 guitars in a jam circle, and then I was like, what's that thing? Show me how to play it. And then all of a sudden became the only dobro in the room, and I could play along with everyone, and it was really fun.
I guess I've been involved in many different genres, starting with classical music on up, through jazz and gospel and hip hop for a good portion of the time. But it was basically the thing where I was like, I did every genre except for country, and then I ran into this guy, and he was like, hey, there's this thing I'm doing. It sounds crazy, but you're gonna love it. And once I came into the studio, it was like within a matter of minutes once we started, jamming, that I was like, okay, I see what page you're on. I can get down with this. I mean, it's mostly because it's just so fun to do. it's not exactly the same as it's similar to when you do when you're putting together like hip hop tracks from sampling and everything, but it's more organic because it's a live band. So instead of you having to like mold and shape a sample into something else, people just kind of organically blend together. So it's just the creative process of putting together the tracks that we do, the performing and interacting with the crowd. It's just so much fun that, you know, it wasn't exactly, I wouldn't have, like, if you asked me 10 years ago, well, actually, no. If you asked me 15 years ago, actually, the reason you laugh is because 10 years ago, I was in a band with him. If you asked me 15 years ago that I'd be doing bluegrass hip hop, I'd be like, what? But I mean, because on paper it sounds wild, but when you actually hear the music, that's when it all starts to click. People are like, oh, that's what you mean. Because we have fans that love hip hop or love bluegrass or love neither, but they love us. And that's the cool thing, is that the people really have a good time, and we have a good time delivering the feelings to them, you know?
I probably would not have guessed in particular what I'd be doing at this point, but I would have known that whatever it was would not be normal.
I'm already gone. That great river keeps running on. I got $500,000 cash, some t-shirts and CDs on the run, so I head down to DC. The cops is coming after me. I got stuck in traffic.
Most of the people that are our shows have open minds that already have eclectic tastes. You know, and there are purists out there.
We've had quite a few converts. Yeah. We've had quite a few converts where people are like, I don't want people rapping in my bluegrass, but then they sit there in the front row with their arms crossed, like, I'm not going to enjoy this. But then like 3 songs in, they're out there sweaty.
Yes. Our toddlers.
Toddlers definitely get it.
We have a lot of senior citizen fans. Yeah. They were like, this is the first time I can understand rap music.
Well, the thing to remember too is like hip hop, you know, hip hop used to be new, but like the hip hop fans from way back are now like getting on.
Yeah, hip hop is like over 40 years old now. Yeah. So.
Man, that's old.
Yeah. It's been around longer than us. So.
Well, today our biggest super fan, Linda, rode in the van with us from New York to DC, and it was like one of the most fun things she's ever done. And we do that a lot. And it's fun. But, you know, it was like bringing in Linda and all these people that she knows from the Peace Corps and from DC, and bluegrass and hip hop is really inspiring. And she just reminds us every day, every time we see her, how much joy we bring to her life. And then that's not just a small remark.
Yeah, I mean, coming from somebody who was in the Peace Corps, and she's like, you guys are really doing good things in the world and bringing people together. I'm like, okay, but you, okay, all right.
The funniest part about it is, like, you know, we've even got friends that have seen us perform and who their political leanings are way different, but at the end of the day are like, you know what, you guys still just make some great music. Like, so, you know, it's one of those things where any sort of anything you can use to get a foot in the door and get into people's heads and get them to sort of see the broader landscape of existence beyond where their circle is. And if you can sort of expand people's circle and, you know, have like the most hip hop cat in the world and an 85-year-old like lifelong bluegrass fan vibing out to the same track, that's important. That's good stuff.
Should've known this was destined to happen. Lips flapping, that's the major infraction. Hardly competence and minor distractions. Drop a hot one and then I watch the reaction.
I guess we're just always creating. All of us have like our own things, but there's also a lot of cross-pollination. You know, like Randy and I are both in another crew called Mental Advisory, but there was 4 members of Mental Advisory on the last Gangstagrass album. And there were 4 members of Gangstagrass on the last Blue Mental Advisory album.
That's right. Yeah.
You know, it's just because we're always, you know, on the road and writing and creating, it keeps the juices flowing. So like the times that we're not with each other, we're still going.
Yeah.
I see this as something akin to an old show called Voltron, in which 5 robot lions would unite into one big robot to defeat everything. So I mean, those robot lions each had their own thing going on too, and then they would unite into one superpowered thing.
It's true. They spend most of the episode as lions, and only at the very end do they unite.
Yes. Play Red Rocks. Yeah, there's a lot of places that we would like to go and like to take this to festivals in different countries and getting to meet more people in more different areas of the world that we haven't been able to get to yet that we would love to.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, it's just piggyback off of what he's saying. It's mostly just playing in more places. We've played all over the United States, and we've just started breaking into Europe. We just did a couple of stints in Europe last year, and we've been over there once before. But there's still more countries that we know are in the Gangstagrass because we see them tweeting at us and posting our stuff that we want to get out there and see in person. You know, we want to touch the world.
I want to go to Japan really bad. Really want to go to Japan. Spain would be dope too.
I want to play Pamplona because I've been to Pamplona for the running of the Bulls, and that is like a crazy party. And when I was there, I saw the bands playing there, and I was like, you know what this place needs? Some Gangstagrass.
It's like paprika or like something. It's just like, you could add this to this situation.
We're like paprika.
Yeah. It's like, it's good.
Oh, that's a good question. If we were a spice, we'd be paprika. Yeah, the last summer we got to play in Germany at this World Music Festival, the biggest World Music Festival in Germany, called Rudolstadt Fest. Yeah. And it was the most amazing festival I've ever seen and experienced in my whole life, and I felt so lucky to be a part of it. Yeah. But we did, and it really fits in a world eclectic vibe, and to see what everyone's doing worldwide was so inspiring. I want to do more of that, for sure.
Yeah, I mean, it's funny when you talk about like individual festivals. It's like I've always had a lifelong dream to play at the Gray Fox Bluegrass Festival. We did that within the first like 2 years of me being in this band. So like when we set individual goals like that, it's like we did that. I think doing more of like the educational stuff. I mean, we play at schools. We play for kids, like we joke about it, but we played for like kindergartners. We played for people in situations where it's more about sort of the reaching out and connecting people. But I don't know. I mean, me personally, I'm always down to like play with as many different people as possible.
I know there used to be fish here. Now summer and the source of the water seems to get here. The rainy season missed this year. Here we run until the drums with the overbearing fear when the band's dry dust never started.
Keep doing it. Yeah. Me and D walked away from music for a bit, and when I came back to it, I was like, why did I ever stop doing this? Like, what the hell was I thinking? Because it's always there. That for creative people, it's always there. And if you don't express that somehow, you're going to drive yourself nuts. So, keep doing it and perfect your craft. No matter how good you think you are, you can always be better. So keep doing it. If you're a writer, keep writing. If you play whatever instrument you play, keep playing it. Whether or not you're booked at, if you play for 550, 500, 5,000 people, keep doing it and maintain your focus. Otherwise, you're gonna go nuts if you don't.
I don't know. I feel like you know, comparing yourself to other people is something that a lot of us struggle with, and you know, just try to not do that, because you're doing something, and you know, you can't imagine what other people are feeling just looking at the amazing stuff that you're doing. And one way around that for me is just think about moving laterally. Like, you can think about music or anything, any achievement, as just this very linear uphill ladder, to mix metaphors. But like, you know, you can try to go straight up, but you could take 5 steps to the side. You could just, instead of trying to just play in just like, you know, only bluegrass bands all the time, what if you try playing with a bluegrass hip hop band? What if you try playing with you know, a bluegrass metal band, or a you know, and that's just for banjo, but like, everybody has their limitations, but you can think outside of that, and you can get a lot farther than if you just tried to stay within one box or one channel.
Both Wrench and Dan have done projects on just hip hop tracks, you know, not even a fusion type of thing. It was just, you know, when I met Wrench, he was a rapper, you know.
Really?
Yeah. And don't sleep, he's got bars. He's got bars. But when it comes to the type of advice, artists have like an urge, like a drive to create. A compulsion. For me, I never was into like the business of music. For me, it was just like this thing that I had to create. So when I stopped, there was like something missing. So things, I guess, didn't really start happening until I like took it serious and was like, look, okay, I guess I am an artist and I need to do this, or else I'll lose my mind. And the longer I did it and the more I did it, the better I got at it. So if you take it as if you take the approach of following your passion and creating for the sake of creating an expression, then I feel like no matter where it takes you, you'll feel you won't have an empty feeling. If you're pursuing it solely for, I have to sell 1 million records, I got to get a Grammy, I got to do X, Y, and Z, then you might have that empty feeling if you don't get that. But my thing was, I want to create something that connects with people, that they'll feel. And I feel like that's something that we've been doing. And it's only because we keep doing it. We just get in there and we create. We just keep doing it over and over again. You know, some of these songs we've done thousands of times, but every time we do it, it has a little more energy than the last time. Just keep going, keep doing it.
For your eyes, the lights are sick, the clocks are denied. Fire's breaking up, there's no morning to extinguish. Whatever restricted you, but that's not true relinquish. People reaching up to the divine with their hands, what was mine, giving water, I learned in the same.